Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Anatomy and Physiology Laboratory discussion of the respiratory system. The learning objectives for this discussion is 1. To identify the organ components of the respiratory system, and 2. Discuss the role of muscles and volume changes in the mechanical process of respiration. The respiratory system is a network of organs and tissues that help you breathe. It includes your airways, lungs, and blood vessels. The muscles that power your lungs are also part of the respiratory system. These parts work together to move oxygen throughout the body and clean out waste gases like carbon dioxide. The respiratory system is divided into the upper respiratory tract and the lower respiratory tract. The respiratory system has many functions. Besides helping you inhale and exhale, it allows you to talk and to smell. It brings air to body temperature and moisturizes it to the humidity level that your body needs. It removes waste gases, including carbon dioxide, from the body when you exhale. It also protects your airways from harmful substances and irritants through mucus secretion. The respiratory system has many different parts that work together to help you breathe. Each group of parts has many separate components. Your airways deliver air to your lungs. Your airways are a complicated system that includes your nose, which is an opening that pulls air from outside your body into the respiratory system. Air can also enter through your oral cavity or the mouth, especially if you have a mouth breathing habit or your nasal passages may be temporarily blocked. The nasal cavity walls are lined with hairs that are part of the air cleansing system. The sinuses are hollow areas between the bones in your head that help regulate the temperature and humidity of the air you inhale. It also gives tone to your voice. The pharynx, or the throat, is a funnel-shaped tube that delivers air from your nose to the trachea, or the windpipe. It includes the nasopharynx, the oropharynx, and the laryngopharynx. The larynx, or the voice box, contains your vocal cords. When moving air is breathed in and out, it creates voice sounds. It allows the connection between the pharynx with the trachea. The thyroid cartilage forms the bulk of the front wall of the larynx. It protects the vocal folds or the vocal cords, which are located directly behind it. The epiglottis is a flap of tissue that guards the entrance to your trachea. It closes when anything is swallowed so that it would go directly into the esophagus and the stomach. The trachea, or the windpipe, is a passage connecting your throat and lungs. It is supported by a cartilage layer with C-shaped rings stacked one on top of the other. The trachea extends from the larynx downwards until it divides into the right and the left main bronchi. The bronchial tubes are tubes at the bottom of your windpipe that connects into each lung. The lungs are two spongy cone-shaped organs in the thoracic cavity that removes oxygen from the air and passes it into your blood. The narrow cone-shaped portion at the top of the lungs is called the apex, while the broad lower portion is known as the base. The right lung is divided into 3 lobes, whereas the left lung is divided into 2. Fissures divide each lung into lobes. The heart lies in between the 2 lungs and leans slightly towards the left lung, producing an indentation called the cardiac notch. Each lung is surrounded by a membrane called pleura, which separates the lung from your chest wall. This membrane is filled with pleural fluid. This is the bronchial tree, which is composed of the right and left main bronchi. It is divided into secondary branches called lobar bronchi. Then, these lobar bronchi are divided into segmental bronchi or tertiary branches, which further subdivides to form bronchioles. Bronchioles divide into smaller tubes called terminal bronchioles. Furthermore, the terminal bronchioles subdivide into respiratory bronchioles. The respiratory bronchioles subdivide into several alveolar ducts. The alveoli are the very small air sacs that are the destination of the air that you breathe in. The capillaries are blood vessels that are embedded in the walls of the alveoli. Blood passes through the capillaries, brought to them by the pulmonary artery and taken away by the pulmonary vein. While the capillaries, the blood moves carbon dioxide into the alveoli and takes up oxygen from the air in the alveoli. Recall, in our discussion of the functions of the respiratory system earlier, we identified respiration as a function of the respiratory system. Respiration is an entire process of gas exchange in the body. It has three basic steps, including pulmonary ventilation or breathing, which is the flow of air into and out of the lungs. It also includes external respiration, which is an exchange of gases between the alveoli and pulmonary capillaries. Pulmonary capillary blood gains oxygen and loses carbon dioxide. Internal respiration is the exchange of gases between blood in systemic capillaries and tissue cells. Here, blood loses oxygen and gains carbon dioxide. Now, to accomplish our second objective, let us discuss the mechanism of pulmonary ventilation or breathing. The processes involved in breathing are inspiration and expiration. Muscles involved in this process are the diaphragm and external intercostal muscles. The process of intake of atmospheric air is known as inspiration. It is an active process. When the volume of the thoracic cavity increases and the air pressure decreases, inspiration takes place. The external intercostal muscles contract and increases the volume of the thoracic cavity. The diaphragm also contracts, which further increases the size of the thoracic cavity. Simultaneously, the lungs expand. With the expansion of the lungs, the air pressure inside the lungs decreases. The pressure equalizes and the atmospheric air rushes inside the lungs. The process of exhalation of carbon dioxide is called expiration. It is a passive process. It occurs when the size of the thoracic cavity decreases and the air pressure outside increases. Now, the external intercostal muscles relax and the internal intercostal muscles contract. As a result, the ribs are pulled inwards and the size of the thoracic cavity is reduced. The diaphragm is relaxed and the lungs get compressed. Consequently, the pressure increases and the air is forced outside. Breathing can also be forced. Forced breathing is an active mode of breathing which utilizes additional muscles to rapidly expand and contract the thoracic cavity volume. It most commonly occurs during exercise. Active inspiration involves the contraction of the accessory muscles of breathing, in addition to the diaphragm and external intercostals. All of these muscles act to increase the volume of the thoracic cavity, such as the scalenes, which elevates the upper ribs, the sternocleidomastoid, which elevates the sternum, the pectoralis major and minor, which pulls the ribs outwards, the serratus anterior, which elevates the ribs, especially when the scapulae are fixed, and the latissimus dorsi, which elevates the lower ribs. Active expiration utilizes a contraction of several thoracic and abdominal muscles. These muscles act to decrease the volume of the thoracic cavity. This includes the anterolateral abdominal wall muscles, which increases the intra-abdominal pressure, pushing the diaphragm further upwards into the thoracic cavity. It also includes internal intercostal muscles, which depresses the ribs. And that ends the discussion on the respiratory system. Stay tuned for the next anatomy and physiology laboratory discussion. Thank you for listening.